Hey guys, it is July 15th, and we've got ourselves a balance patch. So, to talk a little bit about this balance patch, if you guys are unfamiliar with my balance patch videos, the first thing that I do is I go through, I read all of the balance patch changes. Now, during the balance patch changes, if there are any reworks, I'll do them in separate videos if they're big reworks. If they're small reworks, I'll talk about them a little bit. The goal of my balance patch videos is to talk about how it's actually going to affect the game. Is the change big enough to make a swing in the meta? Is the change small to where it's not going to really make any major difference? That's really my goal here, is to talk about that. Should you try a new build that gets added in this rework? Is it, or in this patch? That's the goal. So with that being said, let's get right into it. The climate is being removed. I didn't put a lot of opinions into this, and as I don't put a lot of opinions into most of the major changes and anomalies for Heroes of the Storm, because I'll usually explain more on how it's going to affect the game rather than what I think about it, because at the end of the day, what I say isn't going to change anything. This was removed for two reasons, they said. They specifically said two reasons. They said, one, technical issues, and they said, two, we listened to your feedback. Those were the two reasons they said. So I guess what I just said of, I don't give my opinions on it because I can't really make a difference, y'all made a difference. So nice job. But ultimately, it didn't bother me. I like the stealth. I thought it was a fun concept. I think it would have been more fun if they just left it on a single map. Like Tomb of the Spider Queen. Tomb of the Spider Queen gets kind of boring while everyone's just, oh, it's who double soaks better. Who can force a team fight when they're ahead. Like, that's pretty much all it is. The whole map. There's a lot more strategies to it, but you get the point. It was fun to have the stealth on that map. But on other maps, it's like, stealth wasn't really needed. It's just kind of, there's too many things already going on that map. Snow, 90% of the people I asked about snow said they just didn't even notice it. And electricity was one of those things that it was hard to gauge how much impact it brought, and it was a lot of RNG to the game. I had one time where it was electricity time, it was raining, and I was playing Joanna. I was like, if I get electricity, I can do this bruiser camp. If I don't get electricity, I can't do this bruiser camp. And I was trying to count it out. I was like, okay, it's every 25 to 40 seconds. So as it started reaching the 25-second mark, I went down to that camp. I did that camp for like 15 seconds doing nothing. And I was like, I'm done here. And I left, and then it zapped me. But I was like, I had wasted so much time already. So it's like, it was just so much RNG. Okay, let's take a peek at WoW. Talk about the tank meta for a second. This is going to be a wild one. Zul and Urel, both of these were kind of dominant in the meta. Healers, Karazim. Oh, I just was talking about Karazim, so hopefully... but Rhaegar also needed some changes. Maev's interesting. These are actually some pretty topical heroes. Let's get into it. Blaze. Adrenaline Stim Pack. Additional functionality. While Blaze has over 80% health, gain 25% attack speed and 10% movement speed. That seems to be just a passive that's been added, which is interesting because you can activate this talent, and when you activated it, it would increase your attack speed. Endurance Stim Pack. Cooldown reduced from 40 to 30. Additional functionality. When damaged, while below 30% maximum health, Endurance Stim Pack will automatically cast if it's not on cooldown. I don't know if that's going to be that big of a difference. I think this is interesting for like Bruiser auto attack build. Neural Stim Pack. Mana restoration increased from 30 to 40. The thing is this was already the meta talent for Soul Lane Blaze. It's just that so many people were picking the other talent because they wanted to run combustion and not be interrupted during combustion that it became meta. But if you're taking Bunker, this was still the meta talent. Incinerator Gauntlets, passive, move to 7, no longer causes basic attack. Okay, so this right here is the only reason why I didn't like this talent, was this bottom line, because it used to make it to where your basic attacks would light your oil spills. Well, I wanted to use oil spills to slow people. I didn't want to use, I didn't want to light it on fire. So this is actually a huge buff. So this could make the auto attack Blaze build actually viable. As a bruiser build. It wouldn't be a main tank build, but as a bruiser build, this right here can make it, because this increased your damage of auto attacks to like mercs and minions by 75%, I think. And now your attack speed's going to be increased. Like, you can push now, and you can do camps on Blaze. And you don't get punished by taking this talent. Meltdown. Damage reduction increased from 7 to 8% per stack. I think it stacks 5 times. It was 35%. Now it's 40%. Adhesive Petroleum, W, moved from level 4. Slow amounts being increased, slow durations being increased. Additional functionality now causes basic attacks to light oil spills. So this one says that when the oil's lit on fire, you slow, because normally it removes the slow. And so now this makes more sense. If you do want to take this talent, this is better. The downside to this talent is now it's on the tier that it competes with the quest. So the whole lighting the oil on fire build has been nerfed, but he does have an auto attack build now. So the oil lighting on fire build was never really meta, and you won't take this talent unless you can take that quest. So overall, lighting oil on fire as a build is just dead. But it wasn't really a thing. Auto attack build is a possibility in the solo lane. His main tank build is still going to stay exactly the same. Cho. Cho'Gall's actually getting a decent change. This is going to be something that I'll probably do for a separate video, because it's hard to explain what Cho'Gall is getting by breaking them down individually. But what I will say is that he's getting benefits as far as tankiness. So that's kind of cool. Diablo. Cooldown of his Q is being reduced, mana cost is being reduced, overpower is being, the cooldown is being reduced, and the mana cost is being reduced. You gotta remember, they just nerfed those to the opposite, and he fell out of meta. Life Leech. Healing increased from 1.5 to 2 when not at full, and 3 to 4 when he's at full. Oh, Lord. This build already was kind of sleeper OP. And I'm gonna tell you why it was bad and why it was good. It was bad because in the meta, almost every tank can slow your attack speed and affect your self-healing. Also, as a tank, you might need to eat CC for your team. So you might need to like eat a stun so your team doesn't get hit by it, which means your auto attack is going to lose value. You also don't get a lot of value off of Lightning Breath, off of the attack speed build, because while you're breathing, you're not healing from attack speed. So normally you'd go W build, so you could throw out a bunch of W's and breath, and all the W's are returning and healing you during your breath. You don't get that from auto attack build, which means you're kind of forced to take APOC so you can continue auto attacking for longer. This is interesting. So now let me explain why it was good. This build had one of the highest self-healing ratios if you did not get your attack speed slow. It also is one of the best builds for peeling. And let me explain why. There were 2 ways to build this. One way that you could build this was you could take Malevolence and just do a little bit of extra damage when you cast abilities, blah, blah, blah. But the other way to do this is you'd take Feast on Fear. You would then take the thing that made it to where all of your attacks lowered your Q and your E cooldown. And every time they use E, you'd heal 12% of your health. Then your auto attacks would decrease the cooldown of your E. And every time you used E after level 13, you would get 50% attack speed. So you'd get 50% attack speed, and that would that would heal you for 12%, get 15% or 50% attack speed, and then all of your auto attacks would lower the cooldown of your E. So you'd just be boom, boom, flip, heal, boom, boom, flip, heal, boom, boom, flip, heal, boom, boom, flip, heal. You see how fast it ramps up? And that would get insane, like so fast. That was so incredible. And so that build was really strong because you're also lowering the cooldown of your Q. So if someone goes for your backline, you go, charge in, flip them, boom, boom, charge them away, or flip them and then charge them away from your team, then boom, boom, and you're just healing so fast. And and now it's going to heal way more. Hellfire damage is being boosted. Like this, I'm going to tell you guys right now, with these changes and with this change, that peel heavy build on Diablo is going to be meta. The only downside about this build is you tear through your mana so fast. But with the lowered mana cost, maybe it lasts longer. You don't want to use your charge too often. You want to just be doing your flips. But I'll do a video on this build. I'll show you guys how strong it is. It's really strong. ETC. Face melt, cooldown being increased, mana cost. This is good. I think this is a great change for him. Doesn't affect his survivability. It just affects his peel a little bit. And having less peel is going to make it to where his win rate's going to drop a little bit without really lowering his actual power, which is great. Garrosh, Bloodthirst, ability effect now occurs at the start of the ability rather than the end. Just a little bit of consistency stuff. Body check, cooldown being reduced, slow duration being increased, just buffs an underutilized talent. Russ already really liked this talent, so I'll look at it twice for sure. Mortal Kombat combo has been reclassified as an E talent. Rough Landing Q has been removed. New talent, Seasoned Soldier, gain 5% max health, increase Groundbreaker slow by 1 second, and Bloodthirst gains an additional charge. Remember that Bloodthirst heals you for a percentage of your missing health, so if you have more maximum health, it's going to be more powerful. So if you want more CC, that's one thing. If you want more survivability, that's another. This is going to buff that Bruiser build that I've done a video on. Level 20, Death Wish, R1. Additional functionality, increase the duration of Warlord's Challenge by 0.5. So not only is it lowered cooldown, but it taunts for longer. That's a big increase. 25% increase. Deadly Calm reduces damage reduction increase from 25 to 40%. That's also huge. Enrage. I would say this is going to significantly increase the win rate of Garrosh and make him a much stronger tank in general, both for the Bruiser build and also for the meta just throw taunt build. Really liking these changes for Garrosh and Diablo. Joanna, Iron Skin. Cooldown is being increased. Radiating Faith Blessed stun duration goes down from 2 seconds to 1.75 seconds. Makes sense. In my opinion, that talent was just busted. It was a ranged Mosh Pit. Half the cooldown of Mosh Pit, half the duration of Mosh Pit, but it hits 5 people almost every time, and it's ranged, so it was just such a good talent. So I think this is a really good change. I still think it's going to be the best talent on that tier, but it will decrease the win rate just a teensy bit. Gannis. He actually had a pretty high win rate last time I checked, but damage is being increased, cooldown reduction, cooldown is being reduced of Dark Conversion, mana cost is being reduced. Again, just slight increases on his win rate for underutilized talents. May. She'll most likely get some nerfs, I would imagine, but it looks like... Yeah, here we go. That talent right there was kind of a must pick, and then also Black Ice, which they haven't affected Black Ice, that's good. Cooldown's being increased for this one, and cooldown being reduced. I'll start taking Ice Wall more often, because that at least locks him down. We can just get up there. So you can charge in, lock him down, wait for your cooldowns, throw out a Blizzard, stun everyone. Seems good. I think these are really good changes to May, overall. Like, all in all, I think these are really good changes to May. That brings Avalanche right back down to where it was at. I really like these May changes. So this is, like, if I was to make changes, this is about what I would change on May. I didn't think she was busted, but she did have a significantly higher win rate than the other tanks. And it was from a talent like this, a talent like this. She might need a little bit more as far as, like, this talent goes. Maybe a couple just number drops, but I like it. Merden, Thunderclap, W. Movement and attack speed slow increased. Pretty good. Won't make a major change to him. Stitches. Health is being reduced. Health regen is being reduced to compensate. Hook range is being reverted. Not reverted because I think it was 13. So they're meeting in the middle. Slam. Mana cost is being reduced. Additional functionality deals 50% bonus damage to minions and mercs. That gives him some wave clear. This is actually what both myself and Leon said to do, was give him more wave clear. And it's not going to be a perfect answer, but, like, you can't give him too much because he's already kind of oppressive when he's good. And he's really annoying when he's good. So the way that you correct him is you give him more viability in other senses. And I think that giving him wave clear is really good. Fishing hook, bonus damage, range, and that just compensates back with this again. Zool. I think what they need to do here is nerf W build and Q build just tiny bit, and then buff the rest. But instead, they're reducing the damage of scythes. Damage done when Skeleton Warriors die is being nerfed. Jailers is being nerfed and weakened. Yeah, this talent was really strong. Isn't it interesting the way that they decided to nerf this? It nerfs his other builds more than W build, and I felt like W build was the meta build. I thought, I don't know. Urel was pretty dominant. Dauntless is being nerfed. Maraud's Insight is being buffed. And Light of Caribor, healing bonus when hitting 1 is increased by a tiny bit and by a tiny bit. This won't change the meta. This isn't enough to change the meta. I mean, this maybe in some situations. Against, like, more mage-heavy people in the solo lane, this will make a difference. But this is still gonna be the meta. Healer. Karazim, W is healing's being increased. Okay, so I was just talking about a build that I noticed already had a pretty high win rate, and I'll do a video on Karazim. Morales, safeguard armor mounts being increased. Her win rate was already pretty high in high ranks, surprisingly. This is a pretty good buff. It's not going to make a huge difference in the meta, but it's not bad. Bloodlust durations being reduced, healing from basic attacks being reduced. That's a good change. People have finally realized that Bloodlust is strong, and I think this is finally going to like bring it down to where in the right situations, Bloodlust is going to be great. In most situations, it's bringing Ancestral back into the meta. But I would say both are still going to be in the meta, which is great. His win rate, even before people realized Bloodlust was strong, was already like 55%. So Rhaegar's already a very strong healer that people just didn't realize until recently. Maiev, each hero hit by Spirit of Vengeance reduces the cooldown of Emerald Bind. Additional functionality, enemies heroes pulled by Emerald Bind have their movement speed. These look like underutilized talents for the most part. Dealing damage to enemy heroes causes the next fan of knives that hits them to do 1% max health. So this is good. Up to 5%. So you hit 5 heroes and your next dealing damage, but you could deal damage with anything. You could auto attack 5 times, or you could land a Q on 5 people. 5% max health with constant resets, that could melt tanks. But remember that on tanks it's going to be most likely 2%, because you're just going to hit 2 people to get the reset. So 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%. I mean, what else does she have at 16? You have the W talent, which is very important for your W build, but as far as Q build, you don't really have much. It's not bad. You'll probably take it in Q build. Cassia. Damage nerf, health regen nerf, charge strikes. I don't think they should be nerfing like her talents. I think they should nerf her stats. Play to the Whale, Surge of Light. They're just nerfing her meta build and this. Like they don't. I feel like they don't know what to do with Cassia. People are kind of annoyed at Cassia because she's just infuriating to play, and she's hard to play against. Like there needs to be a way to make her to where you play her in a way that's less tedious and more balanced. It would be easier to balance because more people would play, but I mean, I think this is definitely a good start. Gaul, again, I'll probably do him in another video just because they're moving a lot of talents around and it's a little hard to follow. Greymane, Cursed Bullet, damage reduced from 40 to 35% max health. This one's gone back and forth a few times, but I'll take it. It's also interesting that they're buffing a bunch of tanks and they're going to nerf like one of the better tank options, but that's fine, I guess. W build Mephisto, or it's just the base is being nerfed. Nope, the whole W build is being nerfed. So, I mean, Q build's back on the menu. No, I don't think it's going to be that big of a nerf. Probably won't change the meta, but I do still think Q build is good. Tassidar no longer increases Tassidar's base damage for beam alignment. Additional functionality reduces... So what was the Q talent? Q talent was... reduce the mana cost of Shock Ray. I don't think that's going to make a major difference. Arc Discharge. Additional functionality. While Resonance Beam is fully charged, increases... Okay. So that's if you go the auto attack build. The Q... They're trying to buff the auto attack build, which is fine. Archon, shield amount being reduced. That's fine, honestly. I don't think this is going to be enough to sway people from going Archon. But it will be enough to drop his win rate by a teeny bit on Archon. And this will make his auto attack build better, but it's not going to really make a major difference for Q build. Tychus. Various talents have been reordered to follow the normal convention, Q, W, E, etc. Relentless Soldier. Armor amount being increased. It's competing with longer range W. It's not going to change the meta. Spray and Pray. Additional functionality. Overkill also slows. It's competing with Neo Steel. And the duration of Neo Steel is being increased. So the meta is not going to shift at all here. Level 16. Lead Rain has been removed. A talent that nobody ever used. Sizzling Attacks has been moved to 16. Which means that you can do % health damage. To make this... good, To make this better than Titan Grenade, you need to attack 5 times. You attack 4 times per second, I believe. I might be wrong about that. It might be only 3 times per second. Let's Google it. Tychus HotS. 4 times per second. Let's just pull this up, because it might be nice to have this pulled up anyways. Yeah, he attacks 4 times per second, which means in order to equal Titan Grenade, you need to attack for 1.5 seconds to be more worth it than Titan Grenade. I think the downside, though, is Titan Grenade is exactly when you need it to be, right? Here it is. Titan Grenade's exactly when you need it to be, because what happens with Tychus is, like, the meta build anyways is you go bigger they are, you drop someone's health down to 30%, then you press Q, and Q will do usually about 20%, and then you throw that Titan Grenade, which usually does the last, like, 10%. So, in order to make sizzling attacks better, you would have to attack them after your Q's over, or just after the 30%. So you would need to get a second, 1.25 seconds of auto attacks before you use your Q in order to get the value of Titan Grenade. And Titan Grenade's getting buffed. Armor piercing rounds Q, new functionality. Each time overkill hits an enemy, its damage against them increases by 15%, stacks up to 60%. Seems good. What was Lead Rain? Why is Q build not a thing, I guess is my question. There's no Q talent here. There's no Q talent here. There's no Q talent here. Spray and Pray was increased range by 20%. Now it slows, so you have increased range and a slow. Lead Rain, hold on, let's go back. So Spray and Pray now slows, and Lead Rain was the slow. Now that increases your damage. Armor piercing rounds increases overkill's damage to the primary target by 50%. So now it goes up to 60%. But you also get the slow. So all you're gaining from Q build that you didn't have before is a slow and 10% more damage. Right? So I don't think that makes the Q build viable unless they added level 20 talent. Reduces overkill's cooldown by 4 seconds. While channeling overkill, you gain 40 armor. Okay, well that's cool. But then you have to get to level 20. What's the cooldown of overkill to begin with? And does it roll its cooldown right as it starts being cast? It's 7 seconds. It lasts... I don't think it rolls its cooldown from the beginning. Oh, that's Odin's overkill. Okay, regular overkill's 12 seconds. Over 4 seconds. Does the cooldown start when it starts, or does it start at the end of it? I think it starts when it starts. So by shaving off 4 seconds, you're going down to an 8-second cooldown where you're casting it for 4 seconds. So 50% of the time you'll have an overkill going. Is that as strong of a level or 20 upgrade to make going a bad build worth it? I don't know. It's probably a more reliable build in the late game, because what are you losing? I guess that's the real question, right? Because you don't need to take anything in the early game. So what are you losing? You're losing Neo Steel, which isn't that big of a deal. I mean, against Burst it is, but you're at a longer range for a longer period of time, so that's not that big of a deal. And then level 16, you're going to miss Titan Grenade. But if you're doing more damage, you don't need Titan Grenade. And then level 20, instead of getting the longer Odin, you get more damage over the course of a longer fight. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this might be viable, and it might actually shift the meta. I'm definitely going to want to try this out. So, yeah. And then we have bug fixes, which is great. So let's go back to the top, and I'm just going to go back through what's going to affect the meta, what's not going to affect the meta, and what I think about this patch overall. Let's start off by going up here and saying climate change. It is a real thing. No, I'm just kidding. The climate anomaly, I'm okay with this being removed. I wasn't a big fan of the inconsistency of rain. I thought snow didn't do anything, and while I thought the stealth was kind of fun, I'm okay with losing it. Heroes, Blaze. Auto attack build is back on the menu in the solo lane. Is it going to be meta? I don't know, because I think it's going to be outclassed by other auto attackers. But imagine an auto attacker that can bring a lot of sustained, sorry, not a lot of sustained damage, but a lot of CC. Might be cool. Cho, I'll come back to him later. I do think Cho Gall, with the changes when I was looking at it earlier, I do think that they're back. But I don't know. We'll see. Diablo auto attack build is definitely good, and I'll show the video of my auto attack peel build because I think it's actually insane. ETC, I think it's a viable nerf. I think that's a good nerf, especially when they're buffing other tanks. I think that's a good nerf. Probably won't change the meta too much. Garrosh, yeah, both of his builds definitely got a pretty good buff. His bruiser build is definitely a meta build now. Joanna. Overall, pretty good nerfs. I don't think that's going to remove her from the meta, but with the other buffs, it's definitely going to make the tank meta less stale. Now, Gannis, really strong buffs, will be annoying to deal with. But won't make him, like, OP. I just think that it'll make him definitely a high-up pick. Mei, I think those are good nerfs. It's a good start. She might still be very strong, but with the other buffs of the tanks, she's in a pretty good spot. Merden, I don't think this is going to bring him into the meta. Stitches, I don't think this is going to bring him into the meta. I think it'll answer some problems. It'll make him more viable, but I don't think it's going to bring him into the meta. Zul, these changes won't actually remove him from being... I'm going to say that this is going to move him from being overpowered to very, very strong. Urel, I'm going to say these changes aren't going to make a major difference. Karazim, there is a build I want to make a video about, but I need to find out how good it actually is. But I don't think that this is going to make a major change other than it will make him better. Morales won't make a major swing in the meta. Rhaegar will bring Ancestral to be used a little bit more, but Rhaegar's still going to be a top healer. Maev, Q build got better. Maybe. Won't make a major change in the meta. Cassia, she went from OP to being very strong. Gall, he's back, but again, not like meta or anything, which is exactly where you want him to be. Greymane, not going to make a major change in the meta. Mephisto, not going to make a major change in the meta. Tassidar, not going to make a major change in the meta. Tychus probably will be played a lot more. I think his build got easier, and I think he got more consistent in the late game. So, yeah. That kind of fills everything. So that is what we're looking at for this patch. Overall, I rate this patch a 6.5 out of 10. Realistically, I would say this patch is like a 7 out of 10. We've all been talking about the tanks. The tank meta was stale. I think the tank meta is a lot better now. These heroes have been dominating the solo lane, and they're a little bit more in line. Healers, we didn't really ask for anything other than a Rhaegar change, and I think that's an okay Rhaegar change, but nice change on Karazim, I think. As far as Maev goes, I would say that we didn't ask for it, but cool. Cassia, we were asking for nerfs. That's a nerf. I think overall, like the nerfs we were asking for, the changes we were asking for, they listened. So because they listened, I'll give them an extra point. I think this patch is like a 9 out of 10. Just because they listened, they hit everything that we wanted them to hit. Maybe not in the ways we wanted them to hit, and that's perfectly fine. Like, we are not game designers. They are. They know what works. They know what doesn't. But we know what feels bad, and I think that they've really taken a look at that. And I like the changes that we weren't expecting, like Tychus, Karazim. I mean, that wasn't a big change. But so, like, Tychus, I'm definitely excited about, but I think the videos I'm going to be making are probably Tychus, Karazim, and Diablo, where I might do a Cho'Gall video. So that gives you kind of an idea of where I'm going to go with this. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to check out all of my other videos. I do want to point out that small little sponsor thing if you guys really want to check it out. We're all stuck indoors. Shopping's more indoors, especially with all the mask requirements. If you guys are shopping on Amazon, want to save some money, join Honey. Check the link down below. Join Honey, you can, like, it looks for coupons for you. I'm not going to make it this complicated, guys. It looks for coupons for you. You press the button. Sometimes it'll just say automatically if it finds a coupon. Sometimes you press the button, you click it, it'll look for coupons and automatically apply them for you. And then the third thing that it does that I use a lot is I like to track prices. So like, for example, I'll look at something that I want. I've been looking at these like statues, these Blizzard statues, and I was like, I'm not paying $60 for an 8-inch statue. You know what I mean? So I clicked on that and I was like, man, if this ever goes to $30, I'd think about it. So I set it at like 40, I think. So if it ever drops below 40, I get an email from Honey. So make sure to make an account from Honey and feel free to use it to save some money. My link is down in the description below if you want to help me out, though. Thank you, guys. And yeah, feel free to check out my other videos.